Hello, so I wanted to do a video on currently what my favourite knives are. So what I'm going to do is I've put them into each category. So I'm going to have sort of pocket knife, which is going to be a UK legal EDC knife with, not a locking blade. Then I'm going to have a fixed blade knife, as in like it's a full tang and knife and everything all together, traditional knife. Then I've got two pocket knives. Now, these are the folding lock knives, which are only UK legal to carry if you have a justifiable excuse for it. You already know how I've complained all about that sort of law. But basically I've got two reasons for showing these, and basically I like both of them. I'll tell you which one I prefer out of the two, but it's basically because one is a locking blade under 3 inches and one's a locking blade over 3 inches. I thought before, one of them is probably still, you're more likely to get away with carrying it because, as I said, I don't like how interpretational the law is. So I'll kind of explain that as I get to them. And a military knife, so that category would include my bayonets and my other military sort of sidearm type knives or utility knives. So anyway, let's start off then. What's my favourite legal carry little knife? Swiss Army knife, gotta be. So this is the hiker model, I believe. So it has toothpick on there and some tweezers, Phillips screwdriver, whatever that thing is. I think it's a thing for sewing or punching holes in leather, isn't it? Then obviously you've got your bottle opener and flathead screwdriver. You've then got one of the other things, I forget what the actual use for it is, but it's there. You can tell obviously which things I use on it and which things I don't. I think it's got the saw on this one, yeah, so there's the serrated saw there, little wood saw. Then you've got your two little blades. Obviously the blades and the screwdriver and bottle openers are the ones I use the most. So you've got your little tiny blade and your bigger blade. Both of these are very good. Swiss Army knives are stainless steel but tend to be very easy to sharpen, so I just do it on my nail. Yeah, that's sharp. So yeah, Swiss Army knife is obviously my under 3 inch legal carry blade because most people wouldn't look twice at a Swiss Army knife. As I've said, there have been very petty cases before where somebody's had a Swiss Army knife on them not doing anything wrong and they still get dragged to court and everything even though they are totally innocent. So anyway, that's my legal sort of EDC knife that I'd put in my pocket a lot of the time and forget about. Okay, so my fixed blade, this is actually a surprisingly cheap one. It's the PBK little sort of fixed blade sheath knife, whatever you want to call it. I've shown it a few times. As you can see there, it's a full tang. I've put a little bit of paracord on it, tied, so I can actually hang it from something if I wanted to. You see there, it's obviously just riveted. Nice wooden handle regardless, an actual blade. So this is very sharp and it stays very sharp. I've just given it a sharpen, and this is very good for, I find actually I use this a lot for opening packaging and cutting stuff that's really tough. But as it's a cheap knife, it's one that I don't mind if I damage it. It's a bit like a Mora, you only spend a few pounds on it, so you're not really concerned if you damage it. I saw when Jack Striker did his, I think it was his Anglo Arms or Armex sort of knife, that was very similar to this. I imagine that they're almost identical in actual function, but very good for a cheap knife. Once I've shown all the knives, I'm just going to demonstrate all of them on a little bit of cardboard, just so you can sort of see how they work. Okay, so here's my pocket knives. So as I said, locking pocket knives. One is the Tangram Armadillo, which is just under 3 inches locking. And this one is the Enlan EL01, which is over 3 inches locking. I can't remember the exact size, I think it's 4 or 5 inches. So as I said, this one is the one I'm more likely to carry on me if I actually have a justifiable reason for having it on me and I'm out of the house. Obviously when you're in your house it doesn't matter, carry on you what you want. Because it's under 3 inches, I still think you're more likely to be smiled upon by the law, if you want to call it that, for having an under 3 inch locking knife, even though technically if it's any locking knife you need a good reason, but if it's under 3 inches and locking, it's probably better than over 3 inches and locking, just as far as the law sees it. So I can never actually, when I'm doing this on video I can't ever do it, but when I'm just doing it, there we go, myself is fine. So this is Japanese steel. This is very easy to sharpen and keep almost razor sharp. I don't particularly like having knives razor sharp, but this is very good and very sharp. I like the effect on the blade, it looks almost kind of like a golden colour. It's sort of weird, but it's not a typical stainless steel colour. So it's some sort of Japanese stainless steel that's very good. Like I said, I'm sort of a big fan of it. And the Enlan one, the thing is with the flipper on this one, it's a fine knife, but the little Armadillo one is much better in terms of flipper mechanism. I think when Mike said about it, he said something about like it's got a good ball bearing sort of mechanism on this one, which is why you need less effort and it's smooth all the way. whereas this one, when it gets partially out, you need to give it a bit more of a flick to get it going. So let's just try that one again. There we go. I said sometimes this works fine, other times it doesn't, but the mechanism on this one is definitely, you know, not as good. But the Enlan EL01, I got this one from Blades and Bows. That's the type of steel on there. But this is a very good little pocket knife if you want a bigger sort of folding pocket knife. But as I said, be very careful if you're taking this out about on you, because it's not a legal carry knife unless you have good reason. And like I said, I think if you ever did get called up on it, a smaller knife seems more reasonable with a lock than the bigger knife with a lock. But there's this one. It's a very good knife, very little blade play and wiggle. There's a little bit, but not that much, considering the size of the blade. Very nice rosewood handles. I think this is only about £20 when I got it from Blades and Bows, so you know, it's a good knife in that sort of, you know, price range or whatever else. And then, my favourite military knife, obviously the Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. This is the third pattern. So, Fairbairn Sykes, for those of you that don't know, was a British commando knife in World War II. The modern ones tend to be made sort of a black finish. You can get them in the regular metal one as well, but I just went with black because it gives it a bit more like rust protection and everything else. But this was a knife purely designed for killing, so as you can see it looks like a very traditional dagger, and the whole point of it was you'd get somebody, put it into their throat, put it into the back of the spine, put it into the back of the neck, whatever else, you know, punched out, make a massive wound, kill somebody very efficiently. So this is not a utility knife, its pure reason is for killing, and that's why I like so much about it, to be honest, because I collect a lot of militaria, is that this knife is very unashamedly, you know, about what it's designed for. It is a knife purely designed for killing. I think you're meant to hold it in a kind of fencing grip like this with your thumb over that bit like that. Obviously I'm not trained to use this knife, but if you were to obviously be using a knife for the purpose of killing somebody, this is exactly what that's designed for. It doesn't open cans, you know, it doesn't cut barbed wire or anything like that. It's thrust in, you know, and do as much damage as possible on the way in. If you drop this into wood, it goes in exceptionally well, and this is the only knife I've used on my Kevlar jacket panel that's managed to go through it with the stab protection, just because of how needle-like it is. From what I can understand with these, the obviously point was really sharp. The sides were semi-sharp, but not razor-sharp, as in if you bring it across something quickly it will cut it, but it was never designed to be a cutting knife. And if you know a lot about bayonets, you'll know that stabbing knives are generally meant to be blunt or only very semi-sharp, because otherwise they can get caught on ribs and things more easily. So when people buy these and then complain, oh, this is a crap Fairbairn Sykes because it's got a dull edge, oh, it's meant to be. You can sharpen yours up. I've sharpened mine up a bit. It's not razor sharp, but it is, like I said, sort of semi-sharp. But, you know, it thrusts very well. So anyway, now let's actually go through the knives in order and test them on a bit of cardboard. Right, so hopefully you can see I've got a bit of cardboard here in front of the radiator. Now, what I'm going to do with each of the knives, with the Swiss Army knife, I'm not sure if I'll stab with it or not. Oh, why not? I'll do it and we'll just see what happens. See if I don't destroy my hand. Because there's nothing to stop the blade, you know, coming back in on it. Sorry about the camera angle, because I'm trying to look at the camera and do this. Maybe some of it will be out of frame. As usual, you can moan as much as you like in the comments about stuff not being in frame, but most of the people who do that never make videos, so they don't know what it's like to actually have to try and practically do this stuff. So with this I'll just demonstrate the main blade. So as you can see, cuts into that cardboard absolutely fine. You know, it's sharp enough. As I said, I recently sharpened it. I don't want to really stab. Tell you what, I'm going to stab through it this side. There we go, it's gone through on the second attempt. Obviously I can't get much of a swing here because of the limited space, but it's not really the most practical way of doing it, because I have to stand on this side because of the way the rooms are laid out. But there you go, so the Swiss Army knife, it can stab, it's not meant to, but it cuts absolutely fine. Right, now let's go with the Tangram Armadillo. So just checking that's in frame before I start, as good as it's going to be. As you can see, that's cut that absolutely fine. So now let's do a stab. Let's see if I can just do a weird angle into it. Yeah, that would have worked, it's probably out of frame. There we go. Hopefully you can see that that will stab absolutely no problem whatsoever. Right, now let's use the bigger Enlan knife. So let me just get this back in frame. Okay, can you see there? I think you can. This probably needs a bit more of a sharpen, but it does cut, but just nowhere near as neatly. Again, it's not necessarily the blade being bad, it's the last knife I showed you is much better in quality than this, and this probably needs a sharpen. But let me just demonstrate the stabbing. Obviously this thing can cut because I use it for cutting quite a lot. It's gone partially through, like I said, didn't get enough of a wind up, that time it's gone fully through. So yeah, obviously it can do that, but as I said, these knives aren't really designed for stabbing anything because they're not military knives. Right, now let's go to the sheath knife. As I said, this is a very nice knife for the cheap price, you know, for like the £5 whatever it cost. Very good. Right, okay, so can I find another bit of the cardboard that's yet to have been cut, that bit? As you can see, cutting through that absolutely fine. Now let's give it a stab. I'll tell you what, if I get the cardboard here, it's probably still not going to show up very well. Yeah, that's gone through. But there we go, through both layers again. So, again, that sheath knife is very good. Now the one I think you'll be more excited for, the Fairbairn Sykes, because obviously it is a knife designed for killing. So what will it do to a bit of cardboard? I will try cutting the cardboard on top first, just to see what happens. Because, you know, I'm tempted to see where I've given it a little sharpen, although not the proper one. How does that work for cutting? So let's turn the cardboard around this way. And hopefully you can see the tip of the cardboard there. Yep, right, okay, so like the other Enland knife, it cuts but not all that neatly, because obviously I've sharpened this, but it's not a razor sharp knife. You know, it doesn't do it nice and neatly, and I would not want this razor sharp because then it would be historically inaccurate. So let's just do a backhanded stab into here. I assume that's in frame about here. Yeah, right. And I think you heard from that sound what happened. It went all the way through. So there you go. That's hanging in and out of there. So that's obviously into the hilt now. Let me just stab it the other way so you can maybe appreciate it. I don't know, can you see underneath that there of the camera? Yes you can see the top side, so there we go. Fairbairn Sykes goes through super easy. Now, one of my favourite things to do with this, which I won't do in this video because I'm sure I've already shown it, is to get a chopping board, put the chopping board on the floor, drop the Fairbairn like that onto the chopping board, and if you drop it, just simply holding it like that, it will always get stuck in the wood because of how good this knife is in terms of, you know, the ability of its point. So anyway, again, this is horribly out of frame, I'm sorry, because, like I said, I'm working with a camera in a room with a weird angle and everything else, but Fairbairn Sykes, you know, as I said, is a military knife designed for killing. Does that exceptionally well. Not much else to say about it. So yeah, these are my favourite knives from each of the categories I outlined. Obviously your opinions will vary. I've got a few nice bayonets as well, but obviously the Fairbairn Sykes I think takes the cake because it's very unashamedly a killing knife, which for a military knife is probably what you want. Obviously if you're more looking into a utility knife, something like a K-bar or one of the modern bayonets with all the fancy bits on like the wire cutters and whatever else, but this yeah, was a knife designed for one thing only, and it did it exceptionally well. So there you go, that's my favourite knives. Rant in the comments if you want that I didn't pick your favourite knife.